Okay, the iPad mini 6th Gen is easily one of the most versatile, compact, and downright useful tech purchases, which I've made in a long time. And this 2021 model often goes for less than $300 during big sales, making it almost $200 cheaper than the newly released iPad mini 7, which largely feels the same and actually has one major downside, which we'll get into. So let me break down why the mini 6 is not only my favorite iPad, but why I think it's the best iPad for most people. So a little background, I picked up the Mini 6 during a Black Friday sale a few weeks ago for just $300. It's a tablet that just gets a lot right with its 8.3-inch Liquid Retina display. It's super light at just 0.65 pounds, it has USB-C, and support for the Apple Pencil too. And even though it's a few years older with its A15 Bionic chip, it has more than enough power to handle just about everything you throw at it, all in a form factor that fits comfortably in one hand. Obviously, no device is perfect, so I'm also going to give you some pros and cons as I compare it to other top models, including the Air, the regular iPad, the Pro, and of course, the Mini 7. So as you can tell, I've owned and tested several tablets, but the Mini has quickly become my go-to for its portability and versatility. Let me explain why. Just starting with commuting, I think the iPad mini is the perfect device. It's small and light enough to just toss in any bag without a second thought, and unlike larger iPads, including even the Air, it doesn't feel like you're carrying that extra weight. And when it comes to riding on the subway where using a larger, flashier device may attract unwanted attention, the Mini feels a little bit more discreet and practical. And when paired with one of my favorite cases like this leather one from Moft, when you open it up, you can't really even tell what this is. Maybe it's a small notebook, maybe it is a tablet, maybe it's just an e-reader. But speaking of reading, because the Mini has definitely helped me read a lot more since getting it, it's about the same size and weight as the iPad Paperwhite, the Kindle Paperwhite, or the Kindle Color Soft. They're about the same size, they're about the same thickness, and even though the Mini is heavier, it's not heavier to the point where reading with one or the other is easier. The Kindle does offer a lot, and with their e-ink displays, they're great for longer reading sessions. The Kindle Paperwhite, which I have here, is also waterproof if you want to read by or in a pool. And then there's the new, very controversial Kindle Color Soft, which costs about $280 and brings color to the table. But let's be real, at the end of the day, it's still just an e-reader with a much less impressive display. And even just at a quick glance, you can see just how much more vibrant the iPad looks. It's a lot more engaging and fun to read, especially with graphic novels or books with a lot of illustrations. But interestingly, whether it's a regular Kindle, the Color Soft, or the Paperwhite, I thought they'd have a significant advantage when it came to winding down at night, especially with its e-ink display, as well as its additional warmth. I can get pretty close with the iPad mini still, from setting its brightness all the way to its lowest, as well as increasing its night shift, which also warms up the screen. It creates a perfectly comfortable reading experience, and it hasn't disrupted my sleep. Now, as for productivity, the Mini definitely punches well above its weight. I regularly use it with the Apple Pencil too, which yes is an additional cost, but it's great for jotting down notes. It's also a great way to edit my Lightroom library and even create thumbnails for videos, including this one. But what's great is how the Mini makes my favorite tasks more accessible compared to obviously my phone, which either is too small or doesn't have those more pro apps, as well as, oh my God, larger iPads, which often aren't practical or convenient all the time. So now instead of needing a dedicated time or location to edit my photos, I can do it on my commute, I can do it while I'm at the park, I can do it while I'm winding down, or any other time that I have a spare moment, because it's just so easy to grab. So let's get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of why I think the Mini 6 is the best tablet that you can buy in 2025. First off, value. At $300 during sales, the Mini 6 is an incredible deal, especially when you consider that it brings a lot to the table. Like we said, the display is big, it's sharp, it's the perfect size, it's great for reading, gaming, or watching videos, and its A15 Bionic chip. It's a little bit older, but it's still no slouch when it comes to performance. But here's another big win for the Mini 6 that you may want to consider. Its compatibility with the Apple Pencil 2. Unlike the Mini 7, which only works with the more expensive $129 Apple Pencil Pro. And so while the two can't work with each other's pencils, the Pencil 2 is probably a pencil a lot of people already own. Yes, the Pencil Pro does have the cool new features like hover gesture and a more pressure sensitive tip, which I do really like, but in testing both of them side by side, I don't personally need them. The Pencil 2 still does everything I need, whether it's note-taking, photo editing, or the occasional doodle. For most people, the Mini 6's size is what makes it so appealing compared to the iPad Pro 11-inch, Air 11-inch, or even the refreshed iPad 10th gen. the Mini is significantly more portable than those other devices. And while those larger models can be great for watching movies, especially on the plane, or even using it as a secondary display with Sidecar on your MacBook, there's no denying that this is a more versatile device overall. And something that actually helps take that to the next level is getting a case like this, the MOF Snap Float case, which I've been using a lot recently. You have these really cool cutouts that transform this origami style to switch into multiple viewing angles for reading, typing, or even watching content. I think the leather finish also adds a nice premium touch, and although heavier than Apple's folio cover, it could be a worthwhile trade-off for that additional functionality. And even though larger iPads are marketed for their productivity, iPadOS still has its limitations. Whether you're trying to run two apps side by side on an 11-inch screen, it still feels cramped, or just the way apps interact with each other, it doesn't feel like a pro multitasking device. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it can sometimes get the job done, but for the most part, it's not as good as using a computer. Because of that, I just rather run all my apps full screen on the iPad mini, get the job done. And in many cases, even though sometimes having the two apps side by side or on a larger screen can be nicer, the trade-off just isn't worth it. And understandably, as a smaller device, it's not going to have as large of a battery compared to those bigger iPads, but 10 hours is still pretty good, and I feel like I can get a full days of work or entertainment out of this little guy. Price, of course, is going to be a big deciding factor. For $300, the Mini 6 offers one of the best value tablets that you can buy today. And even just sticking with Apple in terms of entry cost, compared to the refreshed iPad 10th gen, which yes is larger but costs $349. On the other extreme, there's the iPad Pro lineup, which undeniably is very powerful, but still feels overkill for 99% of users. Without full desktop apps or multitasking capabilities that truly utilize its hardware, iPadOS really holds it back. I love the idea of larger screen portable hybrid tablet MacBooks, but until iPadOS can improve itself, I see no reason to spend pro level money when the iPad Mini 6 basically runs all the apps just as well, albeit on a much smaller screen. But again, for me, that's actually one of the biggest selling features. But that brings me to another interesting point, Apple Intelligence, which is not available on the Mini 6. It doesn't support the new AI rewriting, summarization, or photo generating tools, which are tied to the A15 chip found in the new Mini 7. These older iPads could probably handle all these new features just fine, and if I was a betting man, it's just another way Apple is nudging us to buying or upgrading to the more expensive iPads when we don't necessarily need to. But another downside is the lack of a good keyboard. Those larger iPads do offer fantastic typing and even mousepad experiences, but the Mini doesn't really have anything comparable, and it feels like it's being left behind. For taking quick emails or notes, it would be nice to have a solution like that that doesn't feel very cheap, like I've kind of found on Amazon. But if you have a good solution, let me know in the comments. What do you think? Is the iPad Mini 6th Gen the best tablet that you can get today, or do you have your own pick? For most people, I think the iPad Mini 6th Gen hits that sweet spot of portability, power, and price, and I can't recommend it enough. Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to check the description for the best deals on all the tablets and accessories that I've shared. Thanks for watching, and until the next one, I'll catch you later.